Okay, quick. What did 38% of sales managers have in common with Tina Turner? Not totally sure yet? Maybe this will help to jog your memory. Oh, what's approval got to do with it? What's approval but a second-hand emotion? What's approval got to do with it? Who needs approval when approval gets in the way? Okay, you get the idea. As human beings, we are wired and conditioned to seek the approval of others. Unfortunately, it can sometimes get in the way. But no matter what your profession, whether singer or sales manager, you are a performer. And your need for approval from others will interfere in actually performing well and doing whatever you need to do in order to make that impact or reach your goals. And if you're a sales manager, a need for approval makes those difficult conversations even more difficult. Now remember, what constitutes a difficult conversation is different for everyone. But if there is one thing I'm sure you can bet on, it's that talking about things like money and rejection are among the most difficult for us to talk about. That and singing Tina Turner live. But those conversations about money and rejection are the very thing that sales managers need to talk about with their salespeople. But because it's so difficult for them, a lot of managers are avoiding these kinds of accountability conversations. Or if they are being forced to do them, they're overly timid. This could be one of the reasons why a 2014 study was done of 40,000 people and showed that 82% of those who needed to hold others accountable either tried and failed or avoided it altogether. Of course, because of that, the same study also showed that 80% of those that were being managed said they only got feedback when something went wrong. And 85% weren't even sure what the company was trying to achieve. If your salespeople are only hearing from you when something goes wrong or doesn't happen, you're missing the bus when it comes to getting the sales results that you're hoping for in all of those endless Excel spreadsheets. Not only will the belief that you need to have the approval of your salespeople make those difficult conversations even more uncomfortable, it'll also make them completely incomprehensible because you won't ask enough questions. The very same show up and throw up approach that you chastise salespeople for is exactly what you're doing to them. And can you just imagine what happens when a sales manager who's recruiting and has a need for approval, how they might act during an interview? Have you ever seen that needy someone at the bar that's trying to pick someone up? Yeah. Like I tell my sons, you're not likely to meet that special someone at a bar. You might pick up something, but it's probably going to require some severe and expensive antibiotics later because you won't be the only one to suffer. Because like any virus, it will spread. Because as a sales manager, if you have a need for approval, you're over 120% more likely to pass it on to your salespeople. Like a bad flu virus, it'll knock your salespeople out when it comes to them being able to ask the tough questions of buyers that make them think differently about their problems. And it'll block them from getting to decision makers. A couple of other symptoms of a need for approval in your salespeople can include things like not being consultative, wasting time on inappropriate proposals and presentations, not understanding how prospects will buy, assuming the yes, not actively listening. When salespeople aren't doing these things, they aren't pushing back on prospects when appropriate or challenging the status quo. If you want your team to sell consultatively and on value and not price, this is one area where you cannot afford to overlook. But how bad of a fludemic is this need for approval anyway? According to data from over 450,000 sales managers and the salespeople that report to them, 38% of managers struggle with this need for approval. But if a sales manager doesn't have a need for approval, that team is 32% less likely to struggle with those things. Managers with a need for approval are passing it along to their teams, though, at alarming results. It is a fludemic. It's time to get out the echinacea and the elderberry syrup and start strengthening your team's immune system against the need for approval virus. Now, every Monday, We have a live sales management lab at noon Eastern time. And this week we talked about the 8 things that you need to start doing to help control your need for approval. Don't miss these live sales management sessions where managers are coming for the coaching they need to run their own sales experiments and take away actionable techniques that they can start using right away. So check it out, the link below for you to sign up for the next live sales management lab. And you can also subscribe to our regular blog where I'll share those 8 tips. See you then.